Oh, okay, so we're live.
Yes, we're live. I'm sharing the link on Facebook for those who want to follow us there.
Okay, yeah, maybe just share the website link because it's kind of members only now, just so we don't have any non-members because that might make the voting a little bit confusing. Yeah. So the Zoom links should be on the website now. I'll start my camera then.
You said don't share it yet, right?
Share what?
The link to the live stream.
Oh, the live stream. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Yeah, I was just talking about for people who are joining us on Zoom here. Maybe just include a link to that web page, perhaps in the, if you can, in the live stream. There's like a post that goes with it. All right, it looks like we have a couple people watching here. So for those watching on YouTube, if you're a member of IAPSS, you can join the link on our website has instructions on how to join if you're a member. If not, there's a little bit of a lag here on YouTube, so likely I'm guessing about maybe 30 seconds to a minute from the actual Zoom call here. So hopefully the others join soon. Okay, so for those who have joined, there's on the webpage, there's information about the General Assembly, various motions. I encourage you to take a look to see what's on the agenda today. And there's also an attendance form. So it's a Google form. I encourage everyone here to fill it out, just so it's just helpful to our minute taker, our Secretary General, who is Biligsa Khan, who is now here. And for those who might be on the live stream, who might be having some difficulties logging into their IAPSS account, you can contact Biligsa Khan at secgen@iapss.org. So SECGEN at IAPSS.org. We also have our chair for this General Assembly, Tobias Scholes, who is here as well.
Hello.
All right, welcome. So I guess we'll...
Justin, do you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfecto. So how can I do this now?
Okay, it looks like the attendance. And yeah, so we don't have that mic interference. It might be good for folks to mute if you're not speaking. And since for the minutes, if folks are talking, it's nice to just indicate, your name, or if possible, if you're able to rename yourself in Zoom here, that would be helpful. I know there's somebody who's listed as a phone number, so maybe they're calling in. I know there's a call-in option. So yeah, so the General Assembly, we're officially at 8 a.m., but we'll give it perhaps a few minutes for others to join. Thank everyone for your patience. I understand that sometimes these General Assemblies in between our general elections perhaps don't have as much attendance, but we already have surpassed that last disastrous one that was in December 2019, which you can also find. Well, yeah, I don't think that was on YouTube, but all right. So for those who've just joined, I'm just going to repeat this stuff probably a few times, but there's an attendance form on the website, and also has been shared in the chat. Just it's important to fill this out, just so we know. It's helpful for the minutes, and so we can get an idea of how many people attended the discussion portion of the General Assembly. So the voting period actually goes on for about 7 days, just so everyone has a chance to vote in all the different time zones, and with everyone's exams going on right now. That the 7 days was an amendment passed at the May 2020 General Assembly.
it's always one thing how you imagine the video to be and how it then turns out to be, right, Justin? I'm trying to figure out a couple of things right now. I think I need 1-2 more minutes, and then from my side we can start.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. And so just so everybody knows, we're also, this General Assembly is being live streamed on YouTube as well. So if there's anyone who's having difficulty connecting to Zoom, there's an option to connect via YouTube and kind of indicate, questions and stuff in the comments, and we'll hopefully have somebody kind of keeping an eye on that as well.
All right. Justin, just a short question. Have you heard of others who'd like to join today, or do you think we'll probably stay with the amount of people who joined until now?
Well, I certainly hope we'll have a lot more people. I know there's some who are having some technical issues, so
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I guess we can get started in a couple minutes. We'll just give everyone a couple more minutes to get started here, and then I guess Toby will hand it over to you, and then we'll just start going through the overview and everything, because that might take a little bit of time as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. May I ask Alexei? Hi. Is there a function on Zoom where you can mirror the screen? Because I see that your clock is actually showing in the right direction, whereas my IAPSS logo is completely screwed up in the background.
Yes, you can. Go to video settings. And in video settings, there will be enable HD and mirror my video.
All right.
So video settings are located near stop video or, video on, video off.
Okay. Oh, video settings. Ha! Fantastic.
Yeah, and if anyone is having difficulties logging in, or if you go onto the website and if you're watching on the live stream and you're not able to access it, so the web page is now just for those who are members. So you have to log in with your IAPSS member account. So the votes will appear on that web page, right? So it's just so we know, we have just members voting in the General Assembly. So yeah, that's if you have any difficulties, just contact Bilgi, our Secretary General. We have a link to the live stream as well here in the chat. If anyone would like to be on Zoom and watch the live stream at the same time, which could be quite the echo situation. But.
Yeah. Wonderful. From my side, it might take a bit longer actually than last time when we did it, because I have one screen left. I just tried to use my phone as the camera, but it doesn't really work. So you may excuse me if I sometimes need some more seconds to just get an overview on, whether someone wrote in the chat and these kind of things. So just,
Oh, okay.
All right, we start in 2 minutes, all right? So that then we are 10 minutes over. And I think no one would have an excuse for coming more than 10 minutes late.
Well, yeah, just let me know when you're ready, Toby. And
yeah,
it's okay. You know, General Assemblies usually take a long time, and at the international level, that's no exception. So, a fun fact: the last General Assembly we had back in May was about 7 hours. So, hopefully, this one will be a lot shorter than that. But
why do you call this a fun fact?
we're definitely in for quite a show today here. And if you're an IAPSS volunteer, or if you have team members who are not yet on the General Assembly Zoom here, please let them know and make sure that they attend here, because that's definitely very important.
All right, so it's 1 minute left, and we have two more people joining, I think. Fantastic. Feel free, everyone, to join with video as well. We can't see each other in person right now, so it's even more fun to see many of you again here virtually, even though you should be alerted that this will be on YouTube. All right. So it's 1:10 in London. It's 2:10 in Central European time, and this is why we shouldn't wait for much longer. Thank you, Justin, for handing over the right to speak right now, at least for these first minutes. So I would like to call to an order right now, and we will start this 33rd General Assembly here of the International Association for Political Science Students. I am really happy to welcome all of you here in our Zoom meeting on YouTube, or for those who will watch to it later because they can't miss this opportunity, or they want to read the minutes. We are today in our second General Assembly in the year 2020, and the first General Assembly of the mandate 2020-2021. And I am really happy to just run you very quickly through some of the basics that we will experience here in the next hours. My name is Toby, and I was involved in IAPSS in the previous years. I'm very happy to help the current XCOM in convening this General Assembly, and let us make this a very, very open space here today, so that when any one of you has any questions, we're not such a large group, at least at this point here in the Zoom call. If anyone has any questions or concerns, let us just try to figure it out in a very open and direct way here, as these meetings can become sometimes a bit confusing and overwhelming, definitely. So we will, in this General Assembly, cover quite a few points. We will have a board of the General Assembly, which will consist of the chair, the minutes taker, and for the first time this time consists also of a third person, which is, Justin, remind me of how this position is called.
I don't think we have a name. It's just somebody looking after the website and somebody looking after the live stream.
All right. So we don't have a title, but we have these functions which will be fulfilled during the General Assembly. As mentioned beforehand, we are streaming the session live on YouTube, and minutes will be taken care of throughout this meeting and accessible to all the members. We will need to confirm these minutes in the next General Assembly, and we will throughout this meeting convene by applying Robert's rules of order. For those who have not made yourself familiar with this, don't worry, it's not too complex. However, the rules are accessible online. Basically, for all agenda points that we will go through, we will need one person who moves an item to, or who moves to discuss that item, and we need someone to second that motion. Or the same is true for removing an item. So motions are very crucial, and probably especially those of you who are active in other international organizations are familiar with that process. Again, don't worry if you need any kind of explanation along this process, or if there are unclarities, we will be able to discuss those. If there are any concerns that are coming up, including that you feel that this space is misused by participants and IAPSS members during the meeting, including those who are convening the IAPSS General Assembly Board, then you can, of course, also put a motion to, for example, challenge the chair, the minute taker, or the person responsible for the website, and vote in a new General Assembly Board. All that is possible. So it's really a very democratic space here that we want to practice today. Yes. So having said that, has anyone something to add to this? Especially Justin, would you like to mention something additionally?
Yeah, there's also, I think there's, points of, if you think that the procedure of Robert's rules isn't being followed properly, you can raise a point of order, which means that, as we have on the website, there's instructions, but this just means, and then we'll kind of look at how things are being run and see if there's anything that we need to revise. If there's an issue that, if like you can't hear something, or there's like a technical difficulty, then you can raise a point of personal privilege, which we can kind of take some time to look into what's going on there. And there's also, if you have a question, you can raise a point of information, and then the chair will kind of direct you to whoever can answer, or will answer your question. I think that's the main thing, but and also, if there's, when we get into moving motions and stuff, there's, you can move motions on the floor, you can motion to amend certain things, including the agenda and stuff. So all motions require one person to be a seconder. So essentially, to support the fact that this motion should be debated. So when somebody moves, someone will have to second the motion for it to go to a vote. All right, thank you, Toby. Back to you.
Thank you, Justin, for clarifying some of these points. I don't see that anyone else is wanting to add something. So before we come and join the official part, I would really like to take the opportunity to just have very shortly. I mean, last time we introduced all ourselves. Here, I don't think that is necessary, but still, I'm always impressed. Again, when I look at the names and people who are joining, I think some of us are not familiar with each other. It would be great if everyone just wrote into the chat their name, what they are doing right now in IAPSS, if they have an active role, and where they are at. in the moment, so that we can just have an idea of like where all these volunteers who are joining today are actually at the moment, and to get an idea of how global IAPSS is. So if you can just shortly write into the chat that we all have an idea. So fantastic. We have Alexi who's in Canada right now. Justin is in Canada. Shopendra is based in Amsterdam right now, but from India. Bilgi is currently in Mongolia. Mitchell in Australia. This time we have chosen a time which is a bit more nicer for people in Australia for this meeting. That's definitely great. Happy here as well. Then Faslidin from Uzbekistan, Paula in Germany, Max is in Slovakia right now, and Anthony in Peru. So I think we're missing people from the African continent right now. But besides that, I think we are pretty much all over the globe. And Ganesha, good to have you here, calling from India as well, and Artyom in Ukraine. So let us then start with going to the next point of the General Assembly, or actually the first one, which is the approval of the agenda and the General Assembly Committee. And we need a motion and a seconder to approve the agenda and the General Assembly Committee. Who would like to make a motion?
So I can move that motion.
Justin makes a motion. Who would like to second that motion?
I second the motion.
Alexi seconds that motion. Fantastic. So this means that Justin, I can just suggest now the people of the General Assembly Board, correct? Or
yeah, but I guess there's also opportunities if anyone wants to move motions to amend the agenda, but yeah, if there's none, then we can proceed to the vote.
Okay. So would there be motions but sorry, Justin, we have just had a motion to move forward to the vote to the General Assembly Board, right? So we must first resolve this one.
Yeah, so there is a motion on the table. So if somebody wants to amend the agenda, they'd have to motion to amend that motion.
Yeah.
So for the website, so if everyone refreshes the web page on the IAPSS website for the General Assembly, they will see the vote to approve the agenda show up in the at the bottom of the screen. So you saw like a test vote likely at the bottom before. So now there should be 2 votes. So there should be an option yes, no, and abstain. So you can, if you can see that, you're welcome to cast your vote.
All right. Good. So we basically resolved the first part of this motion, and now we need someone to make a motion to suggest people for the General Assembly Committee.
Actually, I think though that motion, we're approving the agenda and the committee in one there, I believe. So it's so as we've kind of stated before, so this would involve confirming Tobias Scholz as the chair, Billy Sekan, our Secretary General, as the minute taker, Paula as the person looking after the live stream, and myself as the person looking after the website votes here.
All right. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Paula, for reminding us in the chat on the live stream. I don't see anyone who is making a motion to amend the motion. So as Justin mentioned, the vote to approve the agenda and the General Assembly Committee is online, and please take now these seconds to vote. And in a couple of seconds, we will then be able to close the vote, at least for this particular item. Does anyone face difficulties with the vote? Otherwise, we can move to announcing the results of that vote. All right. So I would like to ask you to declare what is the result. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry about that. It looks like that motion is passed.
Great. Thank you very much, Justin. Thank you very much, everyone, for voting. That means we can now move forward with point number 3, approval of the minutes of the May 23rd, 2020 online General Assembly. You are able to access the minutes. In case you haven't done that before, I'm afraid that you won't be able to go through all of them at the moment because they are pretty long. But we need a motioner here to approve the minutes and a seconder if there are no motions to have a discussion or to make a motion to the motion. Please unmute yourself and make a motion, or write into the chat box if you feel this is more your way of putting motion.
So I can motion to approve the minutes.
We have a motion now. Justin Patrick motions to approve the minutes. Who would like to second that? I think Shopendra said something, but you were muted. Okay, great.
Yeah, I second that. Yeah.
Fantastic. Shopendra seconds it. So we can now approve the minutes, and the vote will be put online as well. And we will take, let's say, 1.5 minutes to vote. If there are any problems with voting, please let me know.
So the vote is online. Folks may need to refresh their page.
Yeah. Sometimes what can happen is also that it doesn't appear right in the first refresher, so just empty your cache or try to open the browser again if that first approach didn't work. see. 20 more seconds. Good, thank you very much. Please let us know about the result of that vote. Do you have a result?
So that motion currently has more votes in favor, but I think with this one and the other motions, I think we might have to wait until the end of the voting period to figure out the end result. But it looks like, yeah, it looks pretty positive at this point.
All right, thank you very much, Justin. So the voting is still ongoing, and it will remain open as the other upcoming motions for 7 days. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. So then we wait for this to happen. Thank you very much. We will therefore, as we did in the last meeting, not close the agenda point, but basically open the next agenda point so that voting for that agenda point can still go on. We move to point number 4. If there are no additional motions, which is the report of the IAPSS president. And Justin, this is you again.
Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to give a little bit of an update about some of the things that IAPSS has been working on over the past 6 months. And as you all know, COVID-19 has posed some significant challenges for the entire world, and IAPSS has been affected by this as well. So as was indicated at the last General Assembly, our 2020 World Congress was canceled due to the pandemic. So this year, we're hoping to transition everything to an online format instead. So I'm going to maybe highlight some things that are going well, and also after that, some challenges that IAPSS continues to face. So one of the first, in terms of what's going well, is that the transition to online events has so far been very successful, in my opinion. We've had, I think, an unprecedented number of online events, from small size panels to larger size conferences, involving not just IAPSS Global, but now the IAPSS regions are making their own events autonomously. And a number of the student research committees have also made events as well. And in addition, the regions and IAPSS Global have participated in doing collaborative events, along with a few student research committees, involving a number of consultations for the United Nations 75th anniversary campaign, in order to share youth perspectives in international decision-making, as well as a 24-hour telethon on the politics of homelessness in various areas of intersection. So for those who helped out with those events, you know, it's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. And in terms of other regional events, IAPSS Asia had a conference in Mongolia, virtually of course, and a number of regions are planning a number of other virtual conferences as well. So you can actually view the majority of these events on our Facebook page and also on our new, well, we've had it for a while, but our YouTube account, we've recently started posting just this year content on a regular, usually a weekly basis. So if you can, yeah, if you take a look at our channel, which for those watching the live stream, that's you're probably on there already. It's interesting to note that while our following on there is quite small in comparison to our Facebook page, we've grown quite a bit percentage-wise over the course of 2020 when we started investing into this platform. So around January 2020, we had about 60 some subscribers, and that has today just surpassed 340. So we're looking at, I believe, an over, it's increased, I think, over 5 times at this point. So if this continues to increase in the future, in subsequent years, IAPSS may be able to, one day earn a little bit of ad revenue from YouTube, which could be very interesting and help supplement our other activities. In addition, IAPSS has established a number of partnerships with other organizations, in addition to the conventional academic associations that we've worked with, like the International Political Science Association, the International Studies Association, the European Consortium for Political Research, and the Asia-Europe Foundation. So I'm going to read a list of these organizations quickly. So as many of these are various NGOs, as well as other student groups. And maybe if folks can maybe mute their mics, thank you so much. And so a number of kind of new partners that we've formed in this mandate involve the Algoma University Students' Union, which is located in Canada, Art Beyond Sight, an NGO focused on helping those with visual impairments, the Canadian Political Science Students Association, which is, I guess, in the process of becoming an association member, but the partnership model is a little bit more convenient for them at this point as they're rebuilding their organization. The Circle of Sustainable Europe, which, among other things, is focused on the politics of outer space. Disability Unite, an advocacy group for persons with disabilities. The European Academy of Diplomacy. The National Model Organization of Islamic Cooperation in Pakistan. We've renewed our partnership with Politico. The World is Watching, which is an organization focused on alleviating racial inequalities around the world. Voters Without Borders, which is an organization looking to expand voting rights for certain EU citizens, especially for exchange students, which this seems to apply to, and Women in Foreign Policy. So, we welcome these new partners and look forward to creating new initiatives for our members in collaboration with these organizations. And a number have already helped us on various events. And we're currently in the process of solidifying partnerships with other organizations, including UN 2020, the World Federation of United Nations Associations, as well as Music for SDGs, which is a group that looks after the sustainable performs music at various UN events. So we welcome these new partnerships and look forward to forming ones with some of the other ones as well that we're in negotiation with. So in addition, IAPSS has expanded its networks into various international fora. We're now a voting member of the organization known as Civicus. We supported the Erasmus 500 campaign to expand the resources available for students doing the exchange programs through Erasmus. we partnered with the UN 75th Anniversary Campaign. We're a member of the United States Youth, Peace, and Security Coalition now, as well as Bridging the Gap Alliance and organizations involving Youngo and Younga, which are both very youth focused groups. And we've kind of maintained our status with UNESCO, and as well as the informal forum for international student organizations, and we're looking to establish other ones with other members as well, other kind of networks, including the UN Global Compact and various facets of the UN, in like the United Nations 2020 initiative, which is currently renaming itself. So yeah, we have, in addition to that, IAPSS has, at the May 2020 General Assembly, we voted to form a new association membership model. So when a student association joins IAPSS, now all of their individual members get individual voting rights in the organization. So we found this is a way to really help ensure that IAPSS has that grassroots level of support and engagement. And so, and to make sure that all the students are actually being informed about what IAPSS is doing. So since we have this new model now, we have to renegotiate with all of our association members, which is a bit of a lengthy process, but we've been able to successfully do this with 6 organizations, student associations so far, including the Montenegrin Association Political Science Students, which hadn't been officially part of IAPSS since 2015. Polytechnique Sorbonne in Paris, France. We also have one that hasn't been involved with us before, the Responsibility to Protect Student Coalition, which is located in Brisbane, Australia. And then we have some of our old members as well, some which I believe helped establish IAPSS back in 1998, including the associations ISMUS and Machiavelli, both in the Netherlands. And we also have the Universidad Nacional Micaela Bastidas do Apurímac, which is a university in Peru, which has also joined. So these new association memberships appear to be the way of the future, because at about a year ago today, IAPSS declared itself in a state of membership crisis, right? As while there was a lot of engagement on our social media platforms and participation in our initiatives, the official standardized memberships of our network of about 200,000 students wasn't really comparing to how many members we had, essentially. So we really needed to finish the transition from just having associations as members, which we had about 10 years ago, to having individual members as well. So this this new association membership model has allowed IAPSS to greatly increase its members. So I believe, in terms of the ones that are officially standardized, we started this mandate at kind of in the lowest point, I think, in the membership crisis. We had, down to about 370, but we've now increased this by about 250% to over 900. So while we still technically have 199,000 to go, we're making good progress. And I think this new association membership model is a way to alleviate this membership crisis once and for all. So I would, go as far as to say that the membership crisis is reaching its conclusion, that we've essentially just about resolved it, but it's just a matter of finishing those negotiations with the other student associations around the world that IAPSS is involved with, and to make sure that these new memberships are retained in future years. And in addition, on the academic front, IAPSS has expanded or rebranded itself in a number of ways. Our blog, A Different View, which was having some difficulties over the past couple of years, has rebooted and is now looked like a car horn or something was going on there. It has now is now publishing blog posts again. So for those interested in submitting, information is available on our website. And I'm also pleased to announce that there are 2 new student research committees in the works, involving one on the politics of outer space and another one which is still in the sort of discussion phase about the politics involving disability and accessibility and inclusion. So this will allow IAPSS to, expand its availability of student research committee topics, so students have more, variety when they want to collaborate with their peers around the world. So in terms of challenges, IAPSS still faces a number of organizational issues that it has grappled with for much of the 2010s. And the main issue is, involving the fact that since, as was mentioned in May 2020, the fact that IAPSS team members are volunteers and are not paid employees, unlike a number of other student governments around the world, it generally increases the rate at which team members resign, as it's harder to go to school, work, and on top of that, do IAPSS. So we did have a number of resignations this mandate, including the IAPSS treasurer and secretary general, and the vice president for regional affairs. Fortunately, we have been able to find good interims for these positions who can fill them. And as we'll be voting on both retiring the vice president for regional affairs position as the regions have grown more autonomous and capable of handling their own events and initiatives. And we'll also be voting on a number of by-election positions to fill some of these vacancies, which in both cases would be confirming the interims as the newly elected representatives to move forward. But on the whole, however, IAPSS has largely expanded its total team, given that with the new student research committees, with what we're seeing now with the expansion of regional teams and global teams, as well as we develop new infrastructure, we're now over 150 team members worldwide on a global and regional levels. And this number will likely continue to increase as we have different events as well, like including our World Congress planned for 2021. So given the pandemic, the World Congress in 2020 was canceled, but we plan on having a World Congress online in 2021, which will allow us to have more participants in the online space, increasing it from usually around 200 to 300 to up to 500. And we may be able to reduce ticket prices significantly to allow more students to be able to attend. So which would decrease it from the usually around 80 euros or more to, we're hoping, less than 50 euros. So which is, a fairly good percentage decrease there. And in addition, we're hoping to continue a number of regional and global events, which will be either on YouTube or live streamed on our Facebook page and various platforms. Another challenge that that we've kind of encountered is involving the transition of various financial accounts. So this appears like that more effort perhaps should have been put into transferring these accounts in previous years, as we're still trying to get access, and with things like credit cards, bank accounts, and our PayPal account and other things. So this is a bit of, we're still kind of trying to alleviate this, but we'll hopefully be able to resolve most of this within the next, I believe the next month or month and a half or so. And I guess some other good news that I kind of forgot to mention was that IAPSS now, we also have unveiled a IAPSS subreddit on Reddit. So I'm not sure if there's any members who are interested in that, who use that platform, but it's, yeah, if you want your IAPSS updates through Reddit, you can now have that as well. And there's definitely some new opportunities on that platform to get involved, ask questions to team members, and participate in various initiatives through there. And yeah, in addition, as you'll see with some of these motions, IAPSS is growing as an organization, which I think is also a positive step forward. And we're looking to develop new ways to improve our decision-making processes and, I guess, function more feasibly as an organization, find ways to increase our cash flow, and essentially weather out COVID-19. And in the future, we'll also be considering various opportunities for sponsorships and to develop the necessary infrastructure to begin applying for grants. And with that, I would like to just thank, all IAPSS team members and, members at large and various partners, participants, associations who have supported IAPSS through perhaps, one of its most challenging times in its history, while there's a global pandemic going around with an associated economic downturn. So I'd just like to, yeah, thank you for all of your support, and we'll get through this together. And I think that in future years, students will look back and will want to know, right, how what we did during this time and how we adapted. And I think that in the future, we'll be able to adapt and use the skills like online events in future years as well to make our services and activities more accessible. Sorry, that was probably quite a lot longer than perhaps it needed to be, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Justin, for giving us an overview on all the associations, challenges, opportunities, work within the last 6 months. I think that was very comprehensive, also looking at how many people are involved. I can imagine that some of us here who are joining actually feel that there's even more that could be talked about. And I'm also happy that I finally now have a reason to explore what Reddit actually is, because I still don't have a clue. Having said that, I'd be happy to welcome any questions and comments before we would then move into the next point. Let's just mention that this is not the General Assembly where the work of the mandate is kind of evaluated. So in the best case, we would not go into deep discussions about the successes and failures, but if you have any urgent questions or comments, concerns, then there'd be an opportunity for sure. So please go ahead if there are any. I don't see that this is the case. There are no questions or comments in the text box. So again, thank you very much, Justin, for your introduction. And let us move to point number 5, the legal framework amendments and motions. And this is a point divided into 5 different sections. We directly dive into section motion number 1, honorary membership for Professor Marcel Wissenburg. And we need a motioner and a seconder.
Yes, so I believe I'm the mover of this motion.
Perfect. Who believes that he or she is the seconder?
I can second the motion.
Perfect. So Justin Patrick moves, and Paula Navarro via seconds the motion. And this means that I'd like to ask people to put up the vote. No, to not put up the vote, but to open discussion on whether we put up the vote or whether there are any discussions or any motions to adjust this motion.
Toby, I would like to amend the motion to also add Makoto Okubo from Music for SDGs.
All right, Rory, would you like to just write down the name of the person you would like to add so that we have an idea? And then please just say 2 or 3 sentences about the intention of this amendment.
Sure. Let me put it in the chat first.
Yeah, please. Just for the minutes. Thank you very much. And yeah, if you could say some words about it, that would be great.
Sure. Makoto Okubo has done a lot for IAPSS. He helped us single-handedly with the telethon. As a lot of you guys know, we had a 24-hour telethon last month, and honestly, I don't think that any of us could have gotten through it without Makoto Okubo. He had all of the performers single-handedly. He had all of the regions. He helped on standby with every single region. He helped out with the tech. In some ways, he helped out with the programming. And I think that we should really honor that as well. And I think that this could be a really great partnership for IAPSS in the future. And I know that Makoto wants to lead a student research committee on political communication in music. And I think that he can really add a lot of value to IAPSS. And I think that we should really honor the work that he's put in so far and encourage him to keep going by giving him this honorary membership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rory. I see that Justin unmuted. So Justin, I assume you would like to comment that?
Yeah, so the amendment is friendly.
We see there's a friendly amendment, which means that the person who put the motion accepts the amendment of the motion. So we don't need to vote whether to amend that motion, as the mover has accepted that. Thank you very much for your intervention, Rory. Are there any other questions or concerns? I know that that Justin has made his explanation in the documents that are attached to the General Assembly invitation, why Marcel Wissenburg should be honorary member. However, are there any other points that you guys would like to discuss on that matter?
May I, Toby?
Yes, Max, please.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to make a brief remark, particularly on this amendment, considering that the honorary membership of IAPSS has been historically considered, in my understanding, to be really the highest acknowledgement of contribution to IAPSS that can be. And I was wondering whether there are any criteria in place for these nominations, because when looking back at the academic department in particular in which I was involved, there have been extensive contributions, particularly from senior academics, having in mind figures such as Professor Wissenburg, whom I had the honor to listen to at my first IAPSS event. So thank you very much, Justin, for proposing this, as well as some other individuals who have been significantly involved. But so I was wondering in this context whether there should be perhaps some criteria for this, because at this point IAPSS has 3 honorary members, I think, over its long history of over 20 years. The contribution of these honorary members is considered to be very significant in terms of what individually they have achieved, also in terms of effort. Now, of course, I don't think we can evaluate the contribution of senior and junior members in the same way. So, of course, if someone has a senior scholarly status and invests more limited time, perhaps, then of course, if the contribution is significant in some other regards, it may still warrant an honorary membership. But I think that perhaps it could be good to open some discussion on what criteria we have for this honorary membership. Because, of course, if the criteria are the ones that seem to stem from these particular nominations, then definitely there would be many other, at least senior scholars I could think of who would deserve the IAPSS honorary membership. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Max. I think, Justin, you wanted to reply to that. You are muted in between, right? If I overjump anyone, or if anyone else wants to speak, please make yourself notable in the chat, so you can go after.
Yeah, Max, thank you for raising that. I think the honorary membership, from my understanding, doesn't really have specific criteria. The way I kind of interpret it has been kind of service to IAPSS as an organization. So, for example, Marcel Wiesenberg looks after the IAPSS physical mail in the Netherlands and has been doing that for a number of years, in addition to, of course, being an experienced scholar. And Makoto Akubo is, while he may not be necessarily a scholar, he is involved a lot with the United Nations and has a lot of practical experience, and especially, and though while he doesn't publish articles, he has contributed a lot in terms of music, and has not only, contributed to intersections between music and politics and using music to promote international cooperation, but has helped IAPSS during a point in its history where we face significant challenges and we're gearing up toward adapting to online formats, right? So essentially, the 24-hour telethon, a lot of those online events were tests to see if we could do online events successfully, as sort of paving the way toward a World Congress in 2021, where students and participants put forward buy tickets to attend an online event, right? So as we weren't sure when we canceled the 2021 whether that would be feasible for an organization like IAPSS. So I guess that's kind of the rationale why I accepted the amendment as friendly, and also that Makoto Okubo was there for the majority of the 24 hours and provided assistance to IAPSS, and that perhaps helped us with capacities that we didn't really have as an organization. So I think that in the future, at a future General Assembly, perhaps in May 2021, we can look toward developing some more specific criteria for this, and also looking to add other honorary members if there are other scholars who have helped IAPSS in the past. Like one, for instance, might be some of those who did interviews with Toby in previous years, like John Mearsheimer in particular, who did 2 videos with IAPSS, and although is likely very busy, shared a number of his views on his research, and which has garnered IAPSS a lot of attention on social media and YouTube. So, and also, you know, the 2018 IPSA president, Ilter Turin, may also be a possible candidate for honorary membership in the future, as well, as he, you know, again, very busy likely, but took time to sit with members of IAPSS and share his views on multiple occasions. And we have multiple videos of him, and he was also, you know, helped bring our organizations closer together. So I think that there are a lot more members who could be added to the list, but you know, I agree that we should definitely look into perhaps some criteria on what this means, right? And yeah, because I'm sure that. But anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin. If I may just take off my hat as a chair for a minute and also make a comment on that. I think both Max, Rory, and you, Justin, are making very valuable contributions here, and point to a problem within the association, that there haven't been enough appreciations of voluntary work within IAPSS in the past. I see what Max points to as a reminder, specifically for for the cause, that maybe the honorary membership is not always the right tool for acknowledging such efforts. So whereas I think you guys are definitely kind of making a good case here, and I don't want to question that amendment in a broader sense. I think it could be this could be used as an opportunity to think whether IAPSS wants to introduce, for example, academic engagement awards in the future, for example, or public engagement awards, something that makes a difference between honoring someone to be a lifelong member of the association and, you know, giving a particular emphasis to someone who contributed a lot at a specific moment of time. Because definitely the misuse, for example, might be possible, that you know, someone who wins an honorary membership might have a specific internal authority for certain arguments or debates that come up that might not contribute to the healthy spirit within the association. So I would kind of, thinking about the future, recommend that it might be helpful to see an honorary membership dedicated to someone who has no ambitions, let's say, within the associations, because otherwise there could be a somehow political environment that might be counterproductive, and instead kind of establish different award schemes that help us to appreciate senior academics, people who contribute right now a lot, or people whom you would who could be honored for their lifelong contributions to IAPSS. But that's just an idea for maybe future deliberations on that, and as a possible lesson to draw. Yeah, does someone want to contribute something else to this debate? Comment on what we just discussed. Please, everyone, continue to mute yourself if you are not speaking. Thank you very much. If there are no larger debates on that, we would open the vote. So I would ask you kind of a last time if you would like to discuss this matter more. Patricia, do you have a point to make? Don't see this the case. Hello to everyone who just joined. There seem to be quite a few people who joined just recently. So thank you very much, everyone. If there are no further comments, and I don't see an amendment to to the motion, we would move into the voting procedure, and I would ask, I think it's Birgi, right, to open the vote online. Thank you very much. The vote is up, and the vote will be up for, if I am not confused, for the next 7 days. That's right?
That's correct.
All right, and I deliberately ask you to not stop the count for these next 7 days. So we will only know the full result of our online election after this vote is closed. And we move to motion 2, the revisions to a committee structure. We need a mover and a seconder. And please go, who wants to make the motion?
I believe I moved this motion, and the motions package might have some information on movers in the document.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for making this motion. Who wants to second that motion?
I can second the motion.
Paola seconds the motion. Thank you very much. Would someone like to just shortly introduce this motion? Justin?
Yes. So essentially, as IAPSS is growing as an organization, we're realizing that these committee members, these committees are perhaps not, in some cases, might need to be integrated into the larger departmental structures. In many cases, these committees had about 3 members or so, and in a lot of instances, we've needed to either bring more team members into the fold, or there were departments who were already doing tasks with doing similar things. So it was a bit of overlap there. So this essentially oversees that integration into the various departments, and so they'll be also under the, I guess, under the direct supervision of various elected representatives within IAPSS who oversee these various departments to kind of help oversee past like delegations, for instance. So as we grow, yeah, this will hopefully, so essentially we're going to bring a number, I think, retire 3 of these committees and integrate those into the various departmental structures there.
Thank you very much, Justin. Are there any questions or comments on this motion or any amendments? I would like to make a last call for any amendments to this motion. Thank you very much. Then I would like to ask Justin and Birgi to please put online the vote.
So the vote should be up now.
The vote is up and will be up for a full number of 7 days. Thank you very much. We move to 5C, motion number 3, retiring the vacant vice president for regional affairs position. We need someone to move.
So I believe I'm the mover of this one as well, I think.
Justin Patrick is the mover of this one as well. Who is the seconder?
I can second that, Shobin.
Shubhendra, thank you very much for seconding this motion. This motion has been introduced, suggested by Justin, which is why I would like to ask Justin just to shortly present the content of that motion. Thanks.
All right, so this mandate, we had an early resignation of the Vice President for Regional Affairs, and a main reason for that was due to different visions between regional chairs and the Vice President for Regional Affairs, given that at the May 2020 General Assembly, we voted to give regions more autonomy, right? So regional chairs are elected now. So with that, it seems that this supervisory role is perhaps no longer needed, as after the resignation happened, the regions have been meeting autonomously. So, and they've been, like, for example, the regional chairs have met generally every 2 weeks, and I've usually joined them, as well as some members of my team in the International Cooperation Department. And the chairs have largely took turns sharing these meetings, right? So they didn't really need a vice president for regional affairs to do that. And chairs have also organized their own events and conferences autonomously. So this has kind of led us to come to the conclusion that perhaps this ex-com position is no longer needed. So hence the motion to retire this. And again, if perhaps we need an ex-com position for another portfolio in the future, we can always create one at a future General Assembly.
Thank you very much, Justin. I would like to welcome any comments, questions, or amendments to this motion. I don't see anyone raising their voice or virtual hand or writing a text message, so I will ask last time. Are there any comments, questions, or amendments? This is not the case, so I'll again ask Justin and Vicky to put up the vote, please, online.
Okay, so the vote should be up in a few seconds. So I invite folks to refresh the page. Oh, the vote is up.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Justin. We will move to motion number 4, detailing the role of the advisory board. We need someone to move this motion.
I believe I'm on the mover for this motion as well.
All right, then we will all believe that you are the mover now. And who will be seconding this motion?
I will second it.
Yeah, seconded.
Perfect. We have a seconder and even a third person. So Ganesha and Timus are
Thomas.
Thomas. Okay. Yeah, I was confused about that nickname. I mean, yeah, great. Thomas and Ganesha are seconding the motion. Fantastic. So on the documents that I received, it's moved by no one. However, I think there was someone who put this up. It was not an algorithm who wrote this motion. So does someone feel kind of appealed to present the motion very briefly?
I can perhaps speak to it.
All right.
So this motion was at the last General Assembly, the IAPSS, now IAPSS Latin America and the Caribbean Chair Marcos Peña put forward a motion to expand the role of the advisory board. And this motion was, the General Assembly decided to perhaps take some more time to think about this issue and in ways that we could really articulate this. So this motion has been in consultation with a number of, with the current advisory board and a number of others in IAPSS as well, to essentially build from the motion that was previously that was submitted previously, and to make sure that we have clear processes for what the advisory board does and how it operates. So essentially things like keeping accurate records, ruling in certain disputes, including, like, for instance, like an election dispute or something, and serving as the, quote unquote, sort of appeal body of IAPSS to, and also to sort of interpret our or guiding documents in places where the laws of the country in which we are registered doesn't really provide a clear answer. So largely for our internal regulations and policies. So this there were a number of there were a few cases where this mandate, where the advisory board has helped by providing information, or in some cases ruling on certain disputes. So these have kind of established certain precedents, like, you know, gathering evidence, right? Things like that, making sure records are kept, as I mentioned. So this helps standardize those procedures and essentially base things on a rule of precedent, essentially. So in future years, if there's a similar case, as we can call them now, before the advisory board, they can perhaps look to previous cases to see how previous boards ruled, to then maybe take that into account when making decisions. So just for new members who are tuning in, the advisory board it consists of usually three members, who are elected annually at the General Assembly. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin. And again, welcome to everyone who's joining at that point of the General Assembly. We're happy that we are growing here in the number of participants. After Justin just shortly introduced the motion, I'd like to ask everyone to ask questions, make comments or amendments to motion number 4. The chair doesn't see any questions being raised. So one last time, are there any amendments to that motion?
If I may, I think Thomas just raised his hand. Thomas, is there something you would like to say?
Thomas?
Sure. I would like some clarity on the motion. I would particularly want to know, are we expanding the advisory board more like an adjudicatory body? Like the body that makes ultimate decisions on how rulings should be with IAPSS, especially with CK issues?
Justin, did you understand the question? I had some audio problems, but if you understood it completely, you might respond. Otherwise, I'd like Thomas to just repeat the question.
Yeah, I was able to hear it, and yeah, in a way, this.
Did you hear me? Did you get the question?
Yeah, I heard you. Okay. So yeah, in terms of whether this would, I think the advisory board already has that role essentially, but the issue here is that there isn't really a lot of rules involving how they should act, or, you know, what their functions are. So we've sort of had this, you know, advisory board, but it wasn't really clear, you know, what the advisory board does. Are there limits to their authority, things like that. So this motion also seeks to, yeah, add some clarity. So, you know, I guess one could think of them as the quasi judicial branch of IAPSS if there's like disputes, especially if there's you know, disputes involving, for instance, the global executive committee or something, and things could be seen within, because within IAPSS we do have our politics, right? Candidates run and stuff, so there are, you know, there could be partialities in that. I don't want to use the word kind of partisan. We don't have parties, but you know, candidates may have certain leanings. So this advisory board would at least strive to alleviate some of that by providing something. While it can't be 100% impartial, perhaps a little bit more when it's needed. So short answer, it's generally already has had that kind of adjudicative role, and this sort of just adds clarification and limits on what those roles are.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Yeah, thank you,
Thomas,
Justin. Yeah, that's
Thomas,
clear.
did
Very
this
clear.
answer your question?
Very, very clearly.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments and amendments on this motion? I don't see that this is the case. Thumbs up. Then if there are no further amendments, I'd like to ask Gilgi and Justin to again put up that motion.
Okay, so the vote should be now online.
Thank you very much. So also this vote will be up for the next 7 days. And this means we are moving to motion number 5, country for relocation. And we need a mover and a seconder. Who would like to move this motion?
I would
so moved.
Or
all right, Thomas moved the motion and Justin seconded it, I believe.
Sure.
All right, and then thank you very much, both of you. Now we need Justin, who put this motion on the agenda, to give us a short introduction, please.
All right, so at the last General Assembly, IAPSS members voted to task the XCOM with looking for a country to relocate. IAPSS is currently located in the Netherlands, which has posed a few challenges in recent years, including every time we amend our statutes, we have to pay a notary. So our statutes are our highest level of guiding document. We have to pay a notary to authorize them, which in the past has been a little bit expensive. Another thing is that a lot of, in order to pass amendments to our highest level of guiding documents, we have to also have this amendment in Dutch officially. So the English version is actually the unofficial version. So as IAPSS operates in English, this poses a little bit of difficulty as, you know, not many of our members speak Dutch, as there are only, I believe, two countries with Dutch as an official language. So it's, for those who can't speak Dutch, they're at a disadvantage when it comes to putting forward motions to reform IAPSS. So essentially, the task came to find ways to pick which country would be best to recommend at this General Assembly. So at the previous one, we sort of narrowed it down a little bit. There were concerns raised that countries like the United States and Great Britain or the United Kingdom would be not ideal due to issues with the journals, because if the journals are registered there, Max can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but this would affect the opportunities that the journals have access to, and it could affect their operation. So, and their ability to be indexed. In addition, we, as the IAPSS operates in English, we were looking for a country that had English, you know, as an official language, that not just as like a secondary one. So we wouldn't have to, speak another one in order to operate and reform the guiding documents. We looked at online accessibility, the ability for, you know, so no matter where future IAPSS executive members are elected, they can still, you know, make changes to, you know, provide updates to the Chamber of Commerce in that country as needed, as opposed to having to physically mail documents, which we currently have to do, or if worse comes to worst, fly there and deal with those officials in person. So in this case, we narrowed it down and we came up with Canada as a potential option, and that's what we recommend to the advisory board, or no, sorry, to the members. But the advisory board has been informed of this as well, of course, but one reason for that is it meets these criteria. And we also had a meeting with the International Political Science Association this mandate, and they moved to Canada, particularly to the city of Montreal. And they mentioned that for NGOs or nonprofit organizations or associations like IAPSS that move there, they're able to get a bit of funding and enough funding to operate an office and pay a number of staff for the first few years of operation. So IAPSS, which is kind of like our professor equivalent, has sort of made this move and encouraged us to do so as well, so we could be closer, so our two organizations could be closer together and help each other. They even floated the idea that we could have our base of operations at the same university, and which might help with future partnerships and giving our students access to opportunities. In addition, there is also a lot of ways to go about this move, right? We could, as the region's part of the plan is to get them to nonprofit status so they can apply for region-specific grants that IAPSS Global might not be eligible for. There is a possibility of keeping the old Dutch association and renaming it IAPSS Europe and kind of transitioning it to that. So it essentially, we would still be able to have a presence in Europe and apply for Europe-specific grants and opportunities, and provide support to our association members in that region. So essentially, this would this could be an opportunity to make IAPSS more accessible, because as we're aware, we might not always have somebody from the Netherlands on the executive committee. So this would allow open the door to allowing that to be a possibility, right? So allow for updates to be made to things like guiding documents, to submit necessary forms through an online system from anywhere in the world, hopefully, and yeah, make the process a bit more accessible and a bit more cost effective and efficient. So yeah, I welcome any questions that that you have, as this will be this could be a significant undertaking in IAPSS's history and development as an organization.
Thank you very much, Justin, for introducing this motion. I can see one thumbs up from Ganesha, and I welcome all comments and questions and amendments now on that motion. Who would like to go first, if there are any comments, questions?
Can I ask a question?
Thomas, please go ahead.
Justin, I remember vividly at the last General Assembly, which was held in May. I think one of the countries that was actually looked at for relocation was Ireland, if I can vividly recall. If I'm wrong, you can put me back on track. But I'm not hearing anything about Ireland. Are you still potentially considering Ireland, or am I wrong about it?
Justin?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Ireland was another country we considered, as it was within the EU, and would allow us to keep applying for those grants. The issue was that when we looked it up, it didn't appear to be very accessible online. So we would likely have to mail all of our documents to Ireland and pay the necessary fees to do that. And if worse comes to worse, an XCOM member would have possibly had to fly there and be there in person to sort things out. So that was the factor, I guess, why we didn't go with Ireland in the end.
Thanks, Justin. Thomas, does that answer your question?
Sure it does, but for further clarity, so is it only Canada that we have as a potential location, potential relocation spot?
Yeah, so at the last General Assembly, members voted to sort of task the XCOM to recommend them with like which country would be the best fit. And this is kind of what we've recommended.
Thank you, Justin. Justin, I'd like to ask you maybe to give us a very short idea on the extent that this decision has now for the General Assembly, because I think from how I read it, it would be great to have some more of a clearer idea whether this means that you know, IAPSS will be moving to Canada. IAPSS will be taking financial risk while establishing itself in Canada. You know, whether this is kind of for the XCOM to present a full plan of how this move will be done to the next General Assembly. Could you maybe just give an idea of what would be the next steps when making this decision? Because I feel the General Assembly should have more clarity on what exactly the mandate would be on.
Yeah, so with this vote, so if this vote passes, then the XCOM would be tasked with figuring out how to initiate that move, right? Or what would likely be the case, creating a new nonprofit in Canada. Another important fact is that IAPSS doesn't necessarily have nonprofit status in the Netherlands. We're currently listed as an association, which is a sort of different designation. So in the past, we actually weren't eligible for a number of grants and opportunities that are specific to nonprofit organizations. So this would help sort of clear that up as well. But essentially, in terms of the initial cost to register a nonprofit in Canada under the Canadian Non-for-Profit Corporations Act, it would be, the setup cost is, my understanding, it's about a few hundred Canadian dollars, and the main difference would be that IAPSS would have to submit a sort of tax return through the online system, generally once a year. I don't think we would have to pay very much or perhaps anything in taxes given the amount of IAPSS's revenue. I think we fall usually below the minimum threshold, which is around 50,000 Canadian dollars a year, and we usually operate, yeah, like a little bit lower than that, but it depends. But so in terms of a timeline, it varies, of course, as you know, this is a bit of a new step for our organization, but based on other precedents with student governments that have done similar things, you know, in Canada, this could take, I'm going to guess about a year or a year and a half to complete. So at the next General Assembly, we would, you know, likely give an update on how that's going. This would also, it may mean that we would have to create a bank account in Canada, which is something that the XCOM still has to look into. But that would probably be the longest part would be just the bank account part. The easier part would likely be the registration itself, which yeah, seems to be fairly straightforward. We'd fill out a form. We would send the statutes, quote unquote, so the things that we would need a lawyer to change would just be things like the name of the association and very sort of like 5 bullet points of information. Everything else, including our decision-making structures, would all be able to be amended by the General Assembly. So just to reiterate that and make it to summarize, essentially, this motion would task the XCOM with to start initiating the process to make the move, and then at the next General Assembly, we'll provide an update. It likely won't be completed by then, but in the next year to year and a half, it will likely be completed. In which case, the old association at the same time would probably be transitioned into being IAPSS Europe. So essentially, in terms of the cost, it would probably be the cost of a few hundred Canadian dollars, which, or let's just say a few hundred euros, even though the euros are worth more than Canadian dollars right now. But to register and set everything up. So to put that into perspective, just to change the statutes, a couple of years, I think I put a couple of years ago now, we had to, you know, I think it was a few thousand euros. So Toby can correct me if I'm wrong, to amend our statutes, right? So to essentially register, so amending the statutes in the Netherlands is generally more expensive with the notary than creating a nonprofit in Canada. And we do have the funds available to do that. I think that if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Justin. Are there any other questions or comments? All right. I would like to ask a last time, are there any questions, comments, or amendments suggested by the General Assembly here? If this is not the case, I would like to ask Justin and Bilgi to put up the motion for vote online available for the next 7 days, please.
The vote is online.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Justin, for that. And then I see one thing that doesn't make much sense to me right now, which is that the motions package has a motion 6, but the agenda on the page doesn't feature motion number 6. Is that correct, or where is the error here?
I think that's just a technical error. We can just update that on the page. It should be visible in a few seconds.
Fantastic. But we have voted on the agenda with that 6th motion.
Yeah, I guess because the motions package that's linked above has all 6 in the motions package.
Okay. Good. If there are any points of order or something related, please let me know. Otherwise, we would proceed with the suggestion that Justin had just made, that we include motion number 6. I see Kasim, you are unmuting, or was that by mistake? All right. Doesn't seem to be an issue. Well, then we move to motion number 6, which is the motion codifying established General Assembly precedents. We need a mover and a seconder.
I can move the motion.
Justin Patrick moved the motion. Who seconds the motion?
Shall I?
Ganesha, thank you very much for seconding the motion. That's great. Justin, as you have been the one introducing that motion, it becomes very clear that you've definitely done a lot of work this year, sending us these 34 pages of motion work. Would you please also introduce us to this last one, please?
Yeah, so there's, in Robert's Rules of Order, the chair of the meeting isn't able to vote or move in second motions. So, however, the chair is also an IAPSS member, and in past years in IAPSS, generally the chair has, it's been a convention that the chair has voted and moved in seconded motions. So I moved this motion to essentially codify this, because although Robert's Rules of Order, it's a guide, right? But obviously IAPSS is a unique organization, and I believe that if somebody is paying an IAPSS membership, then they should be able to participate democratically, even if they're volunteering their efforts to help get to move our General Assemblies forward, as Toby is doing here. So this is just kind of, as this has already generally been a convention, it's just important to write it down so it's just clarified in future years.
Thank you very much, Justin, for explaining that. Are there any questions, comments, or amendments for this motion number 6? Second round. Any last comments, questions, or amendments? This seems to be not the case, so I'd like to ask Justin and Bilgi to please put up this motion for vote. And I've just received the message. Obviously, this is right, that we have a 7th motion here, which also did not appear on the General Assembly agenda, but which has been on the document with the content for this entire time. This motion was moved by Alexei, and if there are no further points of order, I'd suggest we go with the same procedure as we did with the last one, that we also move and second this item, and then have Alexei introduce this motion. And Rory wants to put our party reaction emojis every time we post a motion for voting. Well, Rory, I'd leave this up for you. If you want to use this as an opportunity to put the party emoji, please go ahead. Just for your knowledge, I cannot always see every kind of emoji that is put up. So if you try to raise your hand, I as a chair don't have the overview of all participants, so you might want to still use the chat function. Great. I have a seconder for this motion, but I need someone who moves this motion first as well, because I didn't see the mover at least.
I'm going to move the motion.
Alexei moves the motion and Rose seconds it. And Rory celebrates it. And I'd like to ask Alexei to just present this motion shortly. Thank you.
So the motion on by-elections provides a regulation for elections to be held outside of the General Assembly. So generally we vote in members of the ExCom at the General Assembly. However, they conventionally have been only held in the past twice a year. So what happens, we've had quite a few resignations this year from the ExCom, meaning that ExCom had to appoint people to fill in the positions. However, given that IAPSS has democracy, has democratic procedures, and members have the right to vote and run elections and be elected, those interim people filling the positions, they work for a few months in their position, and then they're voted in through democratic procedure. However, by the time the General Assembly like this comes around, people who have worked in the interim position have substantial advantage over anyone else who would want to run for the same position. So what happens in the end is essential that person was appointed, even though that person was formally elected. And at first that person was appointed, which is kind of a flaw in our democratic procedures. What this motion puts forward is a regulation to hold elections within 2 months after the position becomes vacant. The secretary is in charge of organizing that election and abiding by regular election procedures. If General Assembly is to be scheduled to happen within 2 months after the position becomes vacant, the by-election is not held. However, that gives opportunity to people who want to run for the position to do so in a democratic way immediately after the position becomes vacant, and which would allow interested people to fill in the position when the opportunity arises. So that is the motion. You can read that on the motions package. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexei, for introducing this motion. And we now welcome all comments, questions, or amendments or celebrations to this motion. I don't see any comments, questions, or amendments, only celebrations at this point. I would therefore ask you last time whether there are any matters to discuss this item before putting it to vote. All right. I'd like to ask Justin and Birgi to put the motion up for vote, and it will be up for another 7 days.
Just a quick clarification. This not only applies to ExCom positions, but also positions on advisory boards and regional chairs. So any elected position within IAPSS, not just ExCom.
Thank you very much, Alexei, for that clarification. And as for all the other motions, we don't stop the count until December 19th, which is 7 days from now. So all votes will be counted until that day. And with that in mind, I am pretty sure we have now covered all the motions of the agenda point number 5. And there seems to be no agenda point number 6 on the agenda, at least on mine, which is why we move directly to point number 7, candidate presentations, questions, and voting. And we start with 7.A, election of the treasurer. And for the treasurer, I do see one platform statement and CV by Shopendra Srivastava. And I would like to ask Shopendra to please present yourself and your platform in please no more than 5 minutes, please. You can take much shorter if you like to, but just as a maximum cap.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Toby. So everyone, my name is Shobendra. I am actually working as an interim treasurer right now because of the resignation of the previous treasurer without an election, as Alexi mentioned. So next time probably that would be managed in a better way if the last motion passes. But at this moment, I have been part of IAPSS for around 4 months. In the beginning, I was helping as a programs interim VP, and also with some other resignations, we decided that I move to this role. I have quite a strong finance background. I'm working full time already for 13 years. So I'm not a student anymore as such. I'm 36 years old. I work in corporate finance and mergers and acquisitions for global companies. I'm currently based in the Netherlands. So finance and things related to treasurers, legal entities, and all those things I'm quite familiar with. I'm not sure if people have seen my CV, but if you will go through it, at least the technical knowledge which finance needs should be convincing in the experience I have. What I would like to do as a treasurer, which is also listed in my platform statement, is actually I would like to focus on 7 things. First, a couple of them are related to cleanup. The last treasurer was not able to prioritize some of the activities because of being too much being on the plate of the treasurer. So we have quite some backlogs in terms of transactions which we need to do with our partners in terms of payments, access to certain bank accounts, etc., is not properly in place. So I want to clean all those up so that we have, let's say, a good up to date and a clean, let's say, record sheet. Second is to bring a bit more transparency to IAPSS finances, especially to the ExCom members, so that we know where we stand in terms of finances, how many events and how many different revenue streams we should be planning, so that the budget which we have for a particular year, we can actually get the required finances to raise that. Then also help in diversifying the IAPSS revenue stream, which is related to the same healthy finances topic. Help investigate if we can get some kind of grants from the Netherlands or the EU, because there is some possibility of it now that we are listed as an association. Having said that, if we would be investigating moving to a new country, Canada, I would of course be helping with that part. But then it could be that we don't explore this option. It depends on the way forward. So we have to look into that. But anyhow, either moving to a new country or trying to maximize the grants which we can get while we are listed in the Netherlands is something to definitely explore. We have not paid too much attention on that. There is also possibility of providing some remittance to some of the members, which could increase motivation, and let's say we might see less resignations, for example. That's something to explore. And if there are other structural changes which could help us, for example, we have explored having Oceania as an independent financial, let's say, unit, and we have to see how that goes. And maybe some other regions we could have similar ideas which could make things more streamlined. So this is roughly what I'm planning to achieve, let's say, by May of next year. Yeah, that's my platform statement. I hope I finished in 5 minutes.
It was actually 4.5. Thank you very much, Upendra, for presenting yourself and being very clear on what you'd like to achieve, I believe. So as there are no other candidates in this election, we would directly start with conversation and comments and questions, which are now directed to you. So who would like to go first? Julia writes in the comments thanking you. So
Thank you.
This is, of course, a welcome at this point. Are there any comments or questions to Shubhendra? One last call. One last thumbs up from Ganesha. And then I would, so now there are more thumbs up coming in. I would therefore just don't wait for much longer. And Justin and Bilgi, please put up the vote online. And I'd like to thank you again, Shubhendra, for presenting your platform. And I now need to somehow go back to the agenda. Fantastico. So the vote is up, which means, I mean, you can celebrate now, but we need to wait for 7 more days until Justin and Bilgi close the vote, until we know for sure about the outcome of this vote. We now move to point number B, Vice President for Programs. And for Vice President of Programs, we have one candidate, which is Ganesha. And Ganesha, I'd like to ask you as well to also present your platform, and please 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy, and thank you, Justin, as well as the whole team of IAPSS, who's currently here and supporting for the General Assembly. So as like my platform is always there on the website, and you can always go through it, the CV and the platform, which is not so much detail, but of course it entails the 3 motives that I have as the interim vice president of programs. So my experience with IAPSS has been started in the month of October 2019, when I was appointed as the projects and events coordinator with IAPSS Asia. And then I worked with the PR team for a shorter period of span as the design coordinator as well. I have previously worked at British Council India as the manager for arts. So I have been engaging in terms of all the cultural activities and arts department therein. And presently I also work, or maybe I'm engaged in academic activities as a scholar. So I'm doing my PhD in urban governance and sustainability from India. And that has to be mentioned that I am currently based in India. So that is there. Talking about the program statement, or the kind of the motivation that is coming for the position, which is basically I have 3 goals in my mind when it comes to the programs department, because since we have seen a bit of change in the kind of programs and activities that we are going into in the upcoming mandate, or maybe for upcoming few months, I have to rely on some activities which are more engaging in terms of more interactive for students, and creating a platform where they can talk about their ideas. So that is one. Number 2 is definitely about creating a good network with partners, because I know that we haven't been, able to maintain that relation. So my priority will be giving sustainable relationship with the partners as well. So that is number 2. And the last and foremost important point is supporting the regional teams whenever possible, be it as advisory roles or the regulatory role whenever required. And in addition to that, which is working collaboratively with all those teams which are working together, for example, be it PR or academics, because programs team closely work in conjunction with all those sectors that work at IAPSS. So that is the whole idea about my, I would say, motivation, or maybe the whole goals for at IAPSS programs department. So thank you so much, Tobias. That's all.
Thank you very much, Ganesha, for presenting your platform as well here. And we see some celebrations here coming in from several people joining the call. However, before we come to celebrate, I'd like to ask whether there are any questions or comments to Ganesha on her platform statement and her candidacy.
Thomas has raised his hand.
Thomas, yeah.
Thank you, Ganesha, for the wonderful platform. I would like to know, do you have any plan at all working with? I know you would work with regions, but do you have any set strategy in your mind how to work with region in developing programs, and how do you intend to partner with individual IAPSS regions in running smooth programs across different regions?
Timas, I'm so sorry. I just missed the last part. Can you just repeat the last part? I believe it's audio disturbance. So sorry.
Do you have any strategy in mind to work with IAPSS region? How do you intend to do that? Especially as it relates to having regional programs and working alongside regions in organizing programs at different levels.
I personally would be working to create a pool of experts as well as partners for the regional teams stationed in specific regions for that matter, so that they can reach out directly to those regional partners or maybe the regional experts working in their specific region, so that they can work on the issues that are concerned with their continents or with their countries. So that is one way to go. And the second way will be periodic meetings with the regional chairs maybe. So to know about what is the actual condition with terms to resources, or maybe with the presence of members in the team, and how we can contribute better for the region itself. So these are my two ideas for regional development of IAPSS. I hope I answered it. Seema, thank you for asking that question.
Sure, and I know you worked with IAPSS Asia before as a project officer, and I would suggest if you can, if you are elected, if you can work with individual project officers from different regions and have like a council, that you will be able to have meetings together and discuss on pertinent issues with individual regions. And I think that could be a wonderful way to partner with regions.
Definitely, I completely agree to that. I think while working with IAPSS Asia, it has always been a team effort. So I learn from the ideas that are coming from my team. For example, what are the issues that they are dealing in Uzbekistan, or be it Mongolia, or be it India as well, because I live here. So I totally rely on my team members to come with the individual projects and ideas, and I try to implement in the best way possible, or maybe structure the event or help them towards the end.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for asking questions.
Thank both of you very much for asking and responding to the question. Are there any other comments or questions to Ganesha at this point?
Toby, they're in the chat.
In the chat, I cannot see a question in the chat currently. I just see a comment by Paola. Rory, do you have a question? Please go ahead.
Oh, no, I just had a comment. And I've been saying that I've worked with Ganesha for quite a while, and she is fabulously organized. Her spreadsheets are just amazing. And I can't wait to see what she would do if she were elected.
Thank you very much, Rory.
Thank you so much, Rory. That's really kind of you. Thank you. And thanks, Paola, as well. Thank you so much.
I would, because I already asked for the first time, so I'd now ask for the second and last time whether there are more questions or comments on Ganesha's platform. This is not the case, I believe. So, oh. Yeah. there was some confusion on whether there was an additional question, but thank you, Rose, for also making a comment on Ganesh's platform. We would then move forward with putting up the vote for the Vice President for programs. Justin and Biggie, just give me a heads up when you are ready. Fantastico, thank you so much. So as you might have realized, we have had these two elections now, and unfortunately, this is as a side note. The last Secretary General Al-Rushi resigned from her position too close to the General Assembly, so that we could not put up a vote in time according to the rules and regulations to initiate a call for applications for this position. So unfortunately, this cannot be done at that point of time, and this is why this must be done at the next possible occasion, so the next General Assembly. We not close this point, but move to the next point in order to keep the votes open, which is any other business. And I would kind of take this as a very short opportunity to kind of merge this with a previous point, which is thanking Bilgi for kind of stepping into this role and kind of doing being the Secretary General in the meantime, and kind of after our resignation to do all the necessary tasks and basically go into her footsteps. From what I've heard, this is very helpful, not only to this General Assembly, but very helpful to the entire association that you are willing to do that job, even though it is not possible right now to have a vote. So thank you very much. So this is just a point of appreciation, basically, and I'd welcome any other business that you guys would like to mention on this point.
Thomas has his hand raised.
Paola, yeah, please.
I'm just drawing attention to Thomas, who raised his hand.
Ah, all right. Thomas, please.
Thank you for the floor. As I've served as deputy chair for IAPSS Africa for quite some time. And one of the significant challenges we face as IAPSS Africa has been recruitment. And recruitment has been a challenge because most students of political science or junior professionals in political science, especially in sub-Saharan Africa, due to the economic condition, have been unable to pay the dues, the fee. And so insofar, they've not been able to attend general assemblies because of the 10 United States dollars that has been charged them. And most of them cannot afford, especially students in West Africa, in other parts of Africa, cannot afford to pay 10 to 12 United States dollars for IAPSS due. So forming the IAPSS Africa chair raised a motion the last time where she asked the General Assembly, she asked the body to relook into the issue in trying to find whether they can re-strategize financially. If you can decide probably students from West Africa, students from Sub-Saharan Africa, students from Africa can pay quite less based on the economic condition, because that has seriously hindered these students from participating in IAPSS activity, especially at the General Assembly level. So if that can be looked into, I think that will really profit well for our region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for raising that point. I'd like to ask you whether, just for a clarification, would you like to point to transform this point of information into any a point of action, so to say? So do you wish to have a body to set up, to have an inquiry, to have a working group, or something more specifically, or was this rather a point of information for now?
Obviously, I think it's essential to translate it into a point of action. If the General Assembly, or probably if the ESCOM can set up a committee, and I think that issue has been lingering for quite some time, if they can set up a committee to look into the financial disparity and to reconsider having different financial structures for regions, especially the poorer regions, like in the African region, that would be better. If we can find a transcontinental committee where we can have people of different regions to look into the issue, even the advisory board can play a key role in that respect. That would be really appreciated, and that would drive our own goal on the African continent. I think Asia faces a similar problem. I'm not really sure about that. I think they can speak to that. But we do face significant problem as it relates to students having that financial capacity to contribute to IAPSS budget. So if the money can be reduced from at least from $10 to like $5, $6, that would be a bit better for our students in Africa.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for clarifying that. Justin, I saw that you unmuted. Do you want to respond to that?
Sure. I think that the IAPSS Africa team, so yeah, Toby, including the IAPSS Africa chair and you and your fellow team members would be integral in helping us develop a way forward, right? I think that given the motion passed in May 2020, we've been able to make the membership, association membership fees more flexible, but if we need to do something for individual students, we can talk about that as well. I recommend that perhaps you and your team and I and perhaps some of the EXCOM members can set up a meeting to talk about the way forward, because we can essentially lower the association membership fee for the schools there to be something affordable, and then they can sign up all their students essentially. So what we really need from IAPSS Africa right now is ideas on like what those reduced fees should be, right? What should we reduce them to? So let's maybe meet maybe in the next week or two, perhaps, or if there's, I know folks are doing the end of the semester break, perhaps in early 2021, and we can put a plan in action so there's more representation at the May 2021 General Assembly.
Thank you so much. That's definitely welcome, and we appreciate that. We'll be glad to have a meeting with you and to try to derive strategies, workable strategies to ameliorate the problem. We are very glad. We are pleased to work with you.
And I'm sure that the members of IAPSS and the participants of the 34th General Assembly then next year will be looking forward to take a look at the results of that of these developments. Thank you very
Justin, lastly, Justin, you will receive a communication from IAPSS Africa. We'll get in touch with you and schedule a meeting quite soon.
That sounds great.
At your convenience.
Perfect. Thank you very much for clarifying that. Is there anyone else who would like to comment specifically on this item? Otherwise, I think we have reached a certain result here, which will be followed up with at the next General Assembly. All right, which would then allow us to welcome any other points under any other business. Justin, you are unmuting.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you, Toby, for chairing this meeting here, and as well as to Paula for overseeing the live stream, and Bilgi for taking the minutes here, and for everyone who's attending this discussion portion of the General Assembly. I know that our full attendance will kind of be realized after the 7 days, given our global scope as an organization. So but yeah, just thank you so much. And if there's anything you need, you're welcome to contact me or the other IAPSS team members. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin, for this. Are there any other points under any other business? Yes, Thomas. Thomas, do you have another additional point?
No. I'm okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Well, then I've now kind of asked a couple of times. If there are no additional questions, we move to point number 9, and I can just repeat what Justin said. Thanks to everyone who contributed in facilitating this meeting, to Justin, Paola, Bilgi, to be part of this General Assembly board, and of course to everyone who participated, who watched, and voted. For those who want to destinate more time to IAPSS in the future, especially Ganesha and Shubhendra, who are up for election. Thank you, everyone, and we adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.